Welcome to Motivated to Lead podcast, helping you become a better leader. I'm your host, Mark Klingsheim. Hi, everyone. This is Mark Klingsheim with SEMA Partners. Glad you could join us again for a podcast this week. Each week we talk with a leader, and this week we're going to be talking with Teresa Riffel. Teresa is a successful executive in the aerospace industry and is the Vice President of Quality at Cirrus Aircraft. She has been involved in the successful launch of the Cirrus Vision Jet, which is an award-winning aircraft. And we're looking forward to getting her thoughts around her career. And also she shares about being a musician and having the importance of having outside interests. Looking forward to our conversation with Teresa today. Well, hi, everyone. This is Mark Klingsheim with SEMA Partners, and we're glad to have Teresa Riffel join us today. And first off, Teresa, can you just give us a little bit of your career history and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I have been in the aerospace industry for many, many years. I started as an entry-level administrative employee. And through many areas of the company, pretty much all the way from engineering through the customer service side. I went to school in the evenings as part of a career college reimbursement program. And that actually was a master's degree in IT. That's what first got me started into the quality role, believe it or not, is during the downturn after 9/11, they moved us into a facility where I was working on a quality system as part of IT, and I ended up in quality. Then I ended up in the Six Sigma world and got my master black belt. And I'm living proof that if you work hard enough at it, you can create a job and a career out of the hard knocks. And
Sure.
Every opportunity that I had from the time I was an assistant in manufacturing engineering, through my IT, through the Master Black Belt thing, which was rough because it was during a real downturn time, that every piece of that experience, you pull back on it every day.
We met when we conducted the search for your position a number of years ago, and it's fun to see someone who has kind of moved up the ranks in their career. You've been able to be very successful, and so that's great to hear that story. If you were to go back kind of to that 22-year-old Teresa, if you could tell her some advice, what advice would you give her knowing what you know now?
Never give up, never get down on yourself, and everything works out. Every experience that you're given is there for a reason, and you can build upon it. It's all good learning.
So was there anything advice that you were given early on that you look back on and you said, well, I should have probably ignored that advice? Anything particular?
At this point in my career, yes. And that would have been some of the advice on focusing on the technical, making sure you understand all of the technical aspects and ignoring the importance of the people part. Mm-hmm. So if I go back to what some of that advice would be to me, it is making sure that you truly understand everything about what you're doing versus how much is enough and how can people help you, because you can get a lot farther with having enough and using the power of the team to get the rest of the direction.
You know, some of the people that are listening to this are maybe in a new executive role where they're having to build out a new team. What advice would you give somebody as they're looking at building out their first team? What are some things that you've learned in your career?
Read a fantastic book a while back. So when you're building out your team, it's a function of where are you starting and what team do you have. And it was a book on gardening, which is another one of my passions. Sometimes you inherit a garden full of weeds that you have to tend to and pull the weeds. Sometimes you have a garden that's brand new and you need to plant all the soil and pick everything, and you can do everything exactly as you want it and condition the soil. And then other times you get a garden that just needs a little tending. The sun plants need to get in the sun and the shade plants in the shade, and things relocated to the right place. And I would say in terms of based on what kind of team you were building, and you could go back to What is the hedgehog concept? Making sure they have the right people in the bus, but the right people in the right seats. And as you go forward into building that team, understand truly what the passion of those folks are and where they best serve you. And if I've learned one thing in 40 years, it's been the power of listening and the power of letting people go if you give them the right direction. So if I'm building a team, I'm going to want people that are going to talk straight to me, that are going to be self-directed, and that support the mission. And if you don't have those three things defined, it's really hard for you to do anything with your garden.
That's good. Yeah, it was kind of leads into kind of favorite books, and you mentioned one. Anything else that you've read that you maybe in the past or present that you would definitely recommend to somebody to read and has helped you in your career?
Yes, a couple of them actually. And if you think about where I started at in my career and the technology that was around in the 1980s based upon where we are now and the level of change, I would suspect that the next 20 years is going to see monumental change as well. But there is a book in one of my philosophy classes in night school that was, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him."
An interesting title.
Yes, and the essential paradigm of that is if you don't know when and what to let go, you never acquire wisdom. And one of the key things, and I'm going to stay on this let go thing, one of the key challenges I've had in developing new people to leadership on my team is letting go. You can't maintain the technical expertise and be the best at everything and lead others and develop them to learn what you've done and take it even one step further if you never let go. So it's an interesting book, but it's it's kind of in your face is you have to let go to grow. And then, of course, another one in 2009 on the last recession, coming from a company that's a powerful brand. I'm also working for another company that's powerful brands. And Howard Schultz came out with the book Onward. Didn't think I would like that book. But if you take that book, it's not just about winning, but it's about the right way to win. And if you haven't read the book, it goes back to how did he go focus on the eye contact of his baristas and training and shutting down all of his stores because they lost fundamentally what made them what they were. And where I was at that point in my career was a lot of things is who are we? What do we maintain? And how do we stay alive during this recession? A lot of things were changing. The World is Flat, Friedman's an older book, but I came into my career, we didn't have things such as laptops or PCs or email. Right. And we didn't buy things from China and Mexico. And all of that has happened throughout my career. And quite frankly, the last 20 years is where we've seen a lot of growth in that. It was a fantastic book, just kind of letting people know what is really globalization and how do we compete in this larger world. And then the last one, and I know it's probably more than three, but I read all the time, is A Whole New Mind by Dan Pink, which kind of builds on the same thing as The World is Flat, but it's about the right brainer and the right brainer thinking. And our culture and world right now is all about experience. Dan Pink talks about a thing he calls abundance mentality. If you have everything, how do I get you to need something that you don't need? And how does it change our way of interacting and thinking and synthesizing concepts? So it's an interesting read. Makes you think a little differently about things.
Sure. So as you've been in a company that is one of the leaders in personal aircraft and it builds cool planes. I was talking to somebody who had the opportunity to fly the new Vision Jet and said it was one of the coolest experiences he's had. You came in and kind of at the beginning of the process as they were rolling out this new product, and I'm sure the deadlines were tight and the pressure was there. Tell me how in those situations do you keep focused and keep your team together and kind of getting the results that you need?
Keeping focused on what we think it's going to look like when we get there. There's hope and there's a path. There were a lot of huge obstacles a lot of things that we didn't know. I came into this, the jet had been designed, it was on the certification path. And at the point I came in, there were a lot of things there that, based on my experience, didn't feel the same, felt differently. And I learned at that point the importance of culture and the importance of respecting where these people have been from, where did they come from. This company's been in business a little over 20 years, not 80 plus like my prior companies.
Right.
So how do you learn what their challenges are? And the Toltec wisdom, right? Don't make assumptions, because you can't assume that they have some of the same experiences and knowledge that you do to help get them through the challenge they have. I did some appreciative inquiry feedback with my team. And some of the things that you take for granted is you have this wealth of aerospace experience. Be more forceful with it. And I was on purpose trying to take a step back to assimilate in the culture. So there's a delicate balance of how much, because just because another company did it 25 years ago doesn't make it right for this company this year. So it's a delicate balancing act. And this was a team that was hungry for help. Sometimes they wanted to be told what to do, and other times they didn't care that you'd ever seen another airplane. So how did I keep going? There was a lot of piano playing at night.
But and it was kind of interesting. We've talked a little bit about your outside times of refreshing, and I think, when I talk to executives, one of the things I'm always interested in is beyond work. I think the importance of having something else that you enjoy doing and that kind of gives you energy and kind of refreshes you. Talk a little bit about the importance of that in your life.
Music has been a part of me since I was 4 years old. It's been my, you want to call you have a happy place. Mm-hmm. It is that place where I can go and play myself through any challenge. Even when I was going to college at night school and people have their fantastic study groups for a test, I could be found in the chapel playing the organ because that's where my mind calmed down. And it's, some people today, they call it meditation, mindfulness, whatever, but that is where I go and think and relax. My father used to tell me when I was young, and we'd come home from school and he could tell what type of a day I had by what my choice of music was. So, and sometimes you can go home and pound the living daylights out of that keyboard and feel a whole lot better when you're done. And other days it's calm. But that has been, if you look through your entire life, the one constant that I've had throughout my entire life, the one fallback. I read a lot, but music is the constant.
No, it's always interesting to hear because sometimes you only see the career part, especially in my business. But I always am interested in what else is there, and so it's fun to hear. And anything that you've used in your life, that whether it's technology, anything that you think has made you more effective or more efficient?
Oh, that is a tough one. I would say that the computer and technology makes us more efficient. Using it rightly makes us more effective. And I, like everyone else, have to learn to balance what that is and put the phone down in the meeting. But I would say the proper use of technology in the right places, specifically the mobile devices, has made me more effective in that I'm always there to communicate and I'm always able to get in touch with. It is more efficient. I don't know if it's always more effective. And I think that still remains to be seen, those two words together, because sometimes they distract from your effectiveness.
Yeah, one of my favorite books was by Peter Drucker, The Effective Executive. And I think sometimes we do confuse the two, that we can do things, a lot of things, and not be effective in what we're doing. Any parting advice that you would give someone?
That the important things are how you behave and your mindset. You can accomplish anything that you believe you can. The impossible takes just a little bit longer, but it's about keeping your mindset and behaviors congruent with what you want to do and not getting discouraged. There has been, from my perspective and my career, if somebody would have told me when I was 22 that I'd be sitting here having this conversation with you, I'd have laughed them out of the park. So the hard work and the persistence do pay off, but making sure that as a person, I lost my father when I was young, 36 years old, but he gave me one piece of advice that's always been in the back of my head. You can't control people, you can only control yourself. And looking at that in terms of what is my mindset and behavior for this, and I can choose how to accept it and how I deal with it.
That's good. Good advice. Well, thanks so much for your time and your insights, and definitely it's been a pleasure to talk with you, Teresa. I wish you continued success in your career and also in your pastimes.
You're welcome. You too, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for listening to the Motivated to Lead podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes. You can also see a video version of this interview at motivatedtolead.com. This podcast is brought to you by SEMA Partners, helping you find your next great leader.